Many thanks for staying with us on Core Digest. We've been talking about the anti-corruption war, President Muhammadu Buhari promising to jail more thieves. And earlier I had Bola Ba with me in the studio. He's still here. And also now have Okenna Nebedum, a legal practitioner, join me here in the studio. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Bosa. Good morning, Nigerians.
Right, so on the issue of the president vowing to jail more thieves following his return from his vacation, what do you make of it?
Well, I very much appreciated that call, even though there's nothing new. The president himself is an individual, and if you talk about him as an institution, he heads the executive arm. The judiciary is an independent arm of government, even though they are supposed to run simultaneously with the legislature and all that. So, being the leader of Nigeria as a president, I would have expected him to be able to infect the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature with his mantra. That is one of the essence of leadership, to be able to influence others. And having said that, he should also raise strong institutions, not merely portraying himself as a headmaster that has just come back from vacation and bought a strong whip from London to whip people into the prison. It is not done with fiat. You pass through procedures. There are laws in Nigeria regulating criminal activities, and there are also procedures how people are prosecuted, and then there's also laid down procedures before people are jailed. I thank God that it's under his regime that two former governors, Darie and Reverend Jolly Yame, have been put in prison. But you can agree with me that most of those litigation started way before his assumption of office. We are expecting more of that to happen, but not with an executive fiat that you're going to throw. Is he going to do that as an individual, or is he going to empower institutions to let them do that? But he himself also have a lot of rejig to be done in his own cabinet. If he fights corruption from there, it will give him the moral suasion. It will give him one of those confidence that Nigerians will say that you are fighting corruption. Few months ago, November last year or thereabout, the president constituted a three-man board to look into recovered funds or looted funds. Nigeria has been looking, have been expectant. What has happened to that committee? Does it take donkey years to, assemble all the figures? What has been recovered by ICPC? What has been recovered by the EFCC? What has been recovered through the TSA? Interministerial recoveries, like the loopholes that has been plugged through the use of adoption of TSA, and all those. We're expecting those to come to the fore and say that this is the figures that's been recovered, even though under his regime the FCC had been reduced to somewhat a recovery agency. What we need to do is to have laws that are so effective to curb excesses. Even disobedience to court order is corruption. Even appointing someone who is less endowed, or who such a person's appointment erodes on the merit of the appointment, so to say, is corruption. It will erode loyalty. If you appoint somebody who is not there on merit ahead of people who are merited to be in that position, there will be insubordination. And all those are key to the administration of criminal justice system, or even to lead Nigeria out of the woods or the cankerworms of corruption. That is my expectation.
How do we ensure that the whole system is structured in such a way that it can allow for effective fighting of corruption?
I will give you a example. You must have heard of a case called Ali Botin. As we speak now, a former member of the American Congress is in jail in America. A barrister, UK trained and licensed barrister, who was actually the one delivering the bribes in Nigeria, is in jail in America. The company Halliburton was made to pay a penalty of more than 70 million US dollars. You know the beneficiaries of that 70 million US dollars? The people who went to America to report that Halliburton, an American company, was trading in a manner inconsistent with American laws in Nigeria. You know what? There is an act, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in America. That Foreign Corrupt Practices Act says that if an American corporate or individual goes to another foreign jurisdiction to go and undertake business activities, that person, whilst undertaking the business activities in America, must undertaking the business activities in that foreign jurisdiction, must make sure that the standards in America is what he adheres to in the other jurisdiction that he has gone to. We know that in Nigeria, it is commonplace to give bribe to get contract. We know that in Nigeria. But you know what? Somebody went to the American Securities and Exchange Commission, enumerated instances where Halliburton had breached the US law, the FCPA. The Securities and Exchange Commission then took on Halliburton, and the criminal justice system took on the individuals that played to it. You know what? Those ones are in jail. Halliburton has paid fine in America. The Department of Justice, I once read where the spokesperson of the Department of Justice in America says they have a list of Nigerians who ordinarily, if they were in America, would be in jail, and that if the Nigerian authorities are interested, they could get the result of their investigation and the materials used in court to convict those who are in jail in America. They could use to prosecute people in Nigeria. All the people mentioned in that listing, they are working free in Nigeria. Let me give you another example.
So about rejigging the system.
Before rejigging, I want to...
Because there's another issue we need to talk about before it's
another example is this. Today, there's a sitting minister in Nigeria that allegedly forged a NYSC release document. My sister, because I know the jurisdiction, I know one jurisdiction where she carries the passport of that jurisdiction. 20 years, 40 years, 50 years after serving a ministerial appointment, if she gets to England, she may still go to jail. You know why? Because there is an equivalent law in the United Kingdom that says, as a UK citizen, corporate or individual, if you go outside the UK to go and get a position or do something that will give you an economic gain, you must do it as you would do it with the standard of UK. That is not using forged document. I'm laughing. I don't bother to help them tell her to resign. She better does this well, because except she relinquishes her UK citizenship. You know what that does? What it does is that when you have statutes that empower the average citizen to see himself or herself, you as a practicing journalist, investigative journalist, a lawyer, you know, if you Google, if anybody is watching me now, just Google whistleblowers attorneys in America, you will see that averagely in a year, lawyers who specialize in helping whistleblowers articulate cases in America, averagely they make billions of dollars. Because of that democratization of empowerment that brings the gains of fighting corruption down to the average citizenry. You know what? Corruptions are effectively fought.